What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from TheTokenMinorities, and I am back with the Week 5 battle of the GBA Season 8, where your undefeated Kansas City Jirachiefs are squaring off against Cybertron VGC and his Melbourne Rotoms. Make sure to go check out my opponent's channel. I'm sure most of you are already pretty familiar with him, but he's basically a VGC legend, two-time national champion, third place in the world in 2013, I believe. So yeah, he's a stud at doubles, to say the least, and he's pretty quickly picking up singles and draft format specifically as well, so becoming more and more of a threat by the week. Honestly, his channel is one of my absolute favorites to watch on YouTube. He's just such a humble guy, really fun to watch and learn from, and I don't even play VGC, but he's just really enjoyable to watch, so I would go recommend that you go check him out here for this battle as well as just for his content in general. I don't think you'll be disappointed on that at all. So yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at the team my opponent decided to bring here, as he has brought a team consisting of the Heliolisk, Ludicolo, Pelipper, Kartana, Mimikyu, and the Kingdra, while my team is discussed in detail in the team builder, going to be linked down on the first line of the description below. Make sure to go check that out if you want to know all the details of this team. But just to summarize, I am bringing a Choice Scarfed Braylum and Assault Vest Hydreigon. I am bringing a kind of specially defensive, or I guess mixed defensive with a little bit of offensive investment on my Toad. Basically my stealth rocker in this game with ways to deal with a lot of the mons that have quad weaknesses on his team. Then I have Gardevoir, which is Choice Scarfed with Trace, which allows me to copy the Swift Swim and outspeed any of his Rain Sweepers, as well as put a big dent in his team considering his fairy resist is a Kartana. And then I have Celesteela, mixed defensive once again with Leech Seed Protect, and then Air Slash and Heavy Slam. And then I have the Mega Venusaur, which is a relatively standard set with Knockoff Synthesis, Giga Drain, as well as, I believe, Hidden Power Fire was the last move on that to help me deal with the Kartana. So, shout out, I want to give a brief shout out to the front office for the help on the team. We did have to kind of rush this team this week just because of Cybertron's schedule. Needed to be able to meet that to play a game on Thursday instead of on a weekend like I normally would have preferred to do. So shout out to the front office. You guys are awesome. They're all linked down in the description below. Also a thank you to Kelly Under the Radar for recording my game for me, and to Nova for joining my team for me this week as well. Now, let's talk about the lead matchup before we jump into this battle. So going into this match, and you can hear it in the team builder as well, I was fully intending to lead with Braylum in this match because I think that Scarf Braylum is just obscure enough to catch someone like Cybertron off guard. He is not fully familiar with all of the more common Braylum sets across the history of singles, just straight up singles, OU and whatnot. He's not as familiar with all the possible sets. He's not going to immediately consider Scarfed Braylum on turn 1, I don't think. He might prove me wrong there, but I don't think he's going to consider turn 1 Scarfed Braylum, so I think there's a high chance that Braylum can actually catch the Pelipper on turn 1, as I am packing the Thunder Punch on this Braylum, and if he decides to lead off with the Pelipper, even if it's Choice Scarf, the Braylum's going to be able to outspeed it, guaranteed, and guaranteed knock it out the Thunder Punch. So that is the ideal turn 1 for me in this game, and that's why I want to lead with my Braylum here, expecting him to lead with his Pelipper. He could also lead with a variety of other things on his team, and even if he does, it doesn't really matter too much, because if the rain is not on the field, this Braylum outspeeds his entire team, and between its stabs has the potential to one-shot every single member of his team as well. So Scarf Braylum, clearly the best lead here, with the Gardevoir being a likely win condition in the back, just based upon what he decides to preserve throughout the game. So we're going to go ahead and jump on into this, as my buddy Cybertron is issuing the challenge. So good luck to him, of course, as I am going to lead off with my Braylum, as he decides that it is in his best interest to lead off with the Heliolisk. So right away we have a very good lead matchup. I am free to go ahead and go for a Bullet Seed on this turn, because if he decides to stay in and maybe outspeeds me by being Choice Scarfed, then I'm going to be able to survive any hit no matter what, unless it is Hidden Power Flying, and I do not expect to see Hidden Power Flying, so I knew he'd probably switch out regardless, and if he did stay in, he's going to get blown back by a Bullet Seed. So I'm going to actually hit the incoming Pelipper with a Bullet Seed, and you know what? This Braylum really is apologizing for what it did to me way back then in the NPL Season 4 Championship, as this time it's going to actually get 5 Bullet Seed hits. Heck yeah. And the Pelipper is going to go down on turn 1. So not exactly what I expected to happen to the Pelipper. I expected that to be more of a Thunder Punch on the Pelipper on turn 1, but we do catch it with the 5-hit Bullet Seed, which is fantastic. Now here, he goes into his Ludicolo, which was the best possible way for him to get some offense out of this turn. As I am forced out, he's going to be faster than me under the rain, so I'm going to go into my Celesteela because I'm expecting him to go for an Ice Beam, predicting me to go into my Hydreigon. He actually goes for the Scald instead, so good play on his part, and he is able to land the burn on Celesteela, which is a little bit annoying. It means I can't just blow back Mimikyu in one hit anymore, but I'm still able to do a lot of damage to it with the Heavy Slam if needed. As now I am going to go ahead and switch out here once again into my Hydreigon, expecting him to go for another Scald, as opposed to the Ice Beam that I was fearing earlier on, and he does just go for the Scald here. Now, I know that after a Scald and after an Ice Beam damage from this Assault Vest Ludicolo, which is like 100% what this is, I'm going to still be outside of range of a +4 Shadow Sneak from Mimikyu, so I am keeping that in mind, but unfortunately he gets the critical hit, and this does actually come back to affect how the game plays out here later on. I'll try to articulate that for you as we get there, but yeah, it's actually kind of a big deal that he gets a crit with the Ice Beam here, as I'm going to go into my Mega Venusaur now because I have a free switch and I want to get this Mega Evolution off so that I am able to switch into this thing later on, as otherwise, you know, this actually is an actual switch into Ludicolo as opposed to having to pivot between Celesteela and Hydreigon, but I'm going to go for the knockoff here just because it covers all of his potential switch-ins, and if he decides to leave it in, if I'm able to get rid of that Assault Vest, it means that Gardevoir is able to win this game much quicker, essentially. So I'm going to just go for the knockoff, as he actually gives me Mimikyu's Disguise, which I'm pretty happy with. The only issue now, though, is that because Hydreigon got crit a couple turns ago, I actually am forced to leave my Venusaur in to weaken down this Mimikyu because I don't have anything that wants to take a +4 Shadow Sneak, essentially. So I know he's going for Swords Dance on this turn, so I'm basically forced to stay in and Giga Drain to see if I'm going to be able to 2-hit KO this thing, and I'm actually not able to, so now I'm definitely forced to stay in to just get the damage off on this thing to make sure it's going to be basically not able to get up to +4 without dying, as by spamming Giga Drain that does prevent it. Unfortunately, what I would have really preferred to do on this turn was to go into the Celesteela after knocking off the Mimikyu, because by going into Celesteela I would be able to Heavy Slam the Mimikyu down into range of Hydreigon's Flash Cannon. I would have been able to preserve the Mega Venusaur to take hits from Kingdra and from Ludicolo later in the game. That would have been the preferred situation, but he's actually, because of all this, able to catch me with the Destiny Bond, and now this game is getting very offensive because a very key component of my defensive core was not able to survive as long as I would have wanted it to in this game. So we gotta adapt a little bit here on the double down, just in case he decides to go into his Kingdra. I feel like I'm forced to go into my Gardevoir here, and just knowing Cybertron, knowing how he plays, knowing how he's prepped in the past, I think he's going to try to go for a Swords Dance or a sub here with his Kartana. He's a pretty aggressive player by nature, and that's exactly what he actually does. I go for the Moonblast because unless I get like a minimum roll, which I did, then I would have been able to prevent him from going for the substitute. And if he just goes for a Swords Dance, I trace the Beast Boost, and I hit him with 2 Moonblasts, and the game is actually over at this point because I'll be able to continue to get special attack boosts throughout the rest of this. And yeah, Gardevoir would have probably been able to clean up the rest of his team now that the rain is gone. But because of the min roll, unfortunately, from the Moonblast, I am going to lose my Gardevoir here, but that's actually okay in the long run because I still have the Breloom in the back. And the Breloom, he has no switch-ins to. He has no rain left either, so Breloom is so free to be able to come in and revenge kill Mons over and over and over again. There's nothing he can really do about it, which, you know, that's a situation I'm okay with. It still means I'm in the driver's seat despite the fact that I've been set back a little bit by a little bit of being unlucky basically in this game, but he's going to be forced to sack off his Ludicolo here so that he can get a free switch into his Kingdra on the next turn, which is fair enough. Ludicolo does go down, and he is going to go into his Kingdra as the last line of defense that's not going to be one-shot by this Breloom. So my game plan here now at this stage in the game is to be able to get this Kingdra into guaranteed range of Breloom's superpower or into range of 3 hits from Bullet Seed. Either way, as if I can make Bullet Seed spammable late game, that'd probably be the easiest way to win this, but it does require being able to weaken down this Kingdra. Now here, I make a play that maybe wasn't the best play in the world, but I kind of expected this because he's Life Orb instead of Specs. I kind of expected this to have the Hidden Power Grass, so I decide to make a Scout play by doubling into my Celesteela, which would cover both the Draco play as well as the Hidden Power Grass play from the Kingdra, but I guess he didn't have it, and he just decided to try to sack off his Heliolisk on that turn, which that makes the scout play pretty ineffective and actually negatively effective, as I'm going to be forced to sack my Celesteela here. So, you know, maybe he actually predicted that. I really want to see his commentary on that. If he predicted that, props to him. That was a great play on his part. But, you know, if he was just sacking off Heliolisk there, then I kind of shot myself in the foot on that turn, unfortunately, as I would have probably been able to just knock out this Heliolisk with my Seismitoad because I did have a fair amount of special attack investment. So here he's going to go into his Kartana. Once again, I have a very free switch into my Breloom, and it's just going to be another kill because it just gets kills every time it comes in, because Breloom's a monster, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise, as the Kartana is going to drop to the Bullet Seed. And once again, he'll be able to go into his Kingdra to try to check me. It's not quite in range of a superpower yet, so I need to get a little bit more chip on him from his own Life Orb recoil to be able to ensure that Breloom can deal with it. But I also already know that my Hydreigon is able to guarantee to outspeed and knock this thing out with a Draco Meteor as well. So I do feel like I'm in a solid position at this stage, as he is just going to go for the Ice Beam, and yeah, my Toad now gets up to about 50% again. I think there might be a small chance that I actually would be able to survive the Draco Meteor here, but I'm not. Actually, I don't think so. I think this is probably a guaranteed knockout at this stage in the game, being below 50% really. So Kingdra is going to be able to drop a Draco on me and knock me out, but what this allows me to do is go straight into my Hydreigon and drop a Draco of my own, because he either stays in and drops to the Draco, or he goes into his Heliolisk, and even if that doesn't drop to the Draco, he's going to be in range of one hit from Life Orb. So what I'm able to do at that point is go into my Breloom to sack off to the Heliolisk if he manages to kill me, and if he manages to kill me, then Hydreigon still checks the Kingdra on the next turn, or if he doesn't kill me, Breloom cleans up the game. So yeah, either way, this was basically checkmate at this stage in the game, as I am able to fire the Draco, knock out the Kingdra, and now he's going to go into his Heliolisk, which probably will just take me out here with a Focus Blast or like a Hyper Voice or whatever. He does actually get outsped by Hydreigon, which I thought was kind of interesting. Potentially a Miss EV, or maybe he's just running Modest instead, which is very possible, I think, on his team, as he is able to knock me out with the Focus Blast, which I'm a little surprised he decided to risk, but I guess he was trying to catch my Breloom switching in, potentially. Maybe he's not running the Hyper Voice on this set, potentially. So I'm going to go into my Breloom here, and I have Superpower, but I decided to just flash the Mach Punch because either one was like very easily going to be able to take out the Heliolisk from this range. So we are able to pick up the win against Cybertron. Great game to my opponent. That really did come down to the wire there, and what was really a bad matchup for him, honestly. I think I had matchup advantage by far, and he was able to keep it close, so full props to him for that. It's been really fun to see him develop in the format just over the course of the first 5 weeks of the season. I've seen so much improvement, and I know I'm going to see so much more from him as well as the season progresses. So once again, great game to him. Make sure to check out his side, and as for us, we are now 5-0 plus 16 differentials, still #1 in the league right now, along with potentially one other unbeaten team. Depends on the result of Chimpact's game, which I will not spoil. Make sure to go check out that game as well, as we have a little bit of a race here to see who's going to be the last unbeaten in the league, and hopefully we can pull that off as well. But we are able to advance to the 5-0 record this week in the closest game of the season for me, actually, I think. So yeah, happy to be able to pull off this result. So yeah, so I think that's about all for this match. We do have a question of the day down below. Make sure to go answer that as well. There were a lot of water types in this match, obviously. Cybertron had the Kingdra, had the Pelipper, had the Ludicolo. I had the Seismitoad of my own. 4 water types in this match, so what better question of the day than what do you think is the best, or maybe your favorite, maybe most underrated, however you want to spin it, water type in draft format? For me, I'm going to say the most underrated water type might just be this Seismitoad here. It's a tier 4 in the GBA, but it has been putting in a tier 3 or tier 2's amount of work for my draft, both in the GBA and also in the GBA D-League before I joined the GBA main. It is definitely a Pokemon I would recommend you trying, especially in a point system or in a tiers-based system. It is consistently undervalued, I think, for what it actually is capable of. So I'm going to vote for the Seismitoad as the best underrated water type in the format. But let me know what you think as well. Maybe your favorite, the best water type, best underrated, however you want to spin it. Be interested in seeing your thoughts on that. So yeah, I think we're about done here. Make sure to leave any questions you have about the battle down below in the comments. I'll answer those in the press conference coming up here later on in the week. But I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Peace.